Welcome back to Stuart Arts. A couple of years ago I bought this entry-level rigid lathe, not really knowing how much I would enjoy wood turning, but as time has gone on here I've made several pieces on this lathe. I really enjoy it and I have several more pieces in my mind that I want to do. And so over the time period since I got the lathe, I've upgraded from the real basic stuff the lathe came with, like this spur drive and the faceplate, to I finally bought myself a Nova G3 chuck, which I enjoyed thoroughly. And finally I ended up with 3 of these things. And so I just put the other 2 in service here within the last couple of weeks, and I'm really glad I spent the money. So in this video I'm going to talk about why I ended up with 3 Nova chucks. This was the first G3 I bought. It came with the 50mm jaws on it, and those are real nice versatile jaws for turning middling sized items. I'm working on this little burl pot here, and the way that I turned that is I started off on the screw chuck here, and I formed a tenon on the bottom, and then I held the tenon in the jaws as I hollowed it out and got the outside done, and then I flipped it over once it was hollowed, and I used the 50mm to hold this so that I can finish the base. So it's a great system, and it really is a big step up in what I could do with this lathe here. I guess it's our nature as humans to always want more, and I can turn these sort of middling sized things, but I wanted to do some smaller items and larger items. So I quickly started looking around for accessories for this chuck. First thing I bought after the chuck was the accessory kit here, and this is the box for it, but and the accessories are out of it. But it had a set of 20mm jaws, which I believe that's what these are here I have installed currently. And it has what's called a mini spigot, and they've got that in a different box. And then it has the mini coal jaw set as well. And then it's got a bag of fasteners. So that was the first thing I bought. But I grew tired of changing the jaws out for this one chuck over and over. I'd have to do it 2 or 3 or 4 times for one little job that I was working. I'm going to turn a small vase out of a piece of burl that I have, and so I needed to go back to the 50mm jaws. And so I took off these small jaws, and it's just kind of a pain to do this. The other day I was changing out these jaws, and I dropped one of these little screws and it went bouncing off across the shop, and I spent a long time trying to find that darn thing, and I never did. It's conveniently colored black so that it blends in nicely with my nice dirty greasy floor here in the shop. And I think another thing about changing these jaws back and forth, I've seen comments from people that after you've done this enough times the threads start to get a little goofy. So I think the less you take these screws in and out, the longer your chuck is going to last you. These are the 2 boxes. I got these overnight. Karen looked online. I think we got these for about $165, and then she put it on a card that had like a 5% kickback. So we'll probably end up spending about $160 out the door with free shipping. So this is what the boxes look like, and you open them up. There's the T-handle chuck key, and that's a very nice key, by the way. And then the chuck itself, and these come with a little bit of a preservative on them, so the first thing I do is give them a bath in some mineral spirits to try to strip that off. And then there's a baggie here that has your screw drive, and then it has all the little fasteners in there and a couple of keys for attaching everything together. And then it has the 50mm chuck jaws. So here's where I ended up. I've got one chuck that I keep the 50mm jaws in, and that's probably my go-to chuck for most jobs, and works well. I've also got one here for the mini jaws. I believe these are 20mm, and these are very short set. Now I do have also the same size, but they are longer. They have a longer length to them, so that you can get them down inside things a little bit better. And I used these 2 jaw sets to make these little canisters here. I love making small stuff, so these things, I really enjoyed using these to turn these small lidded boxes. And then I have one chuck here that will have the coal jaws ready to go. Now, one thing I want to make a note of here, when I bought these other two chucks, it turned out that there are actually two different spindle sizes that these chucks will fit. My lathe has a 3/4 inch 16 TPI spindle, and so to use the G3, this is the first one that I bought, I had to buy this adapter here. So it cost about 18 bucks, I believe, delivered. And I was surprised when I bought these other two to find that they are actually for a larger shaft size than this one. I think these are 1 1/4 inch, which I believe is the larger machines like the Powermatic and so forth. So when I bought these, I had to get a different adapter for these two. So that is the, it's called the I9NS is what you'll end up using for that if you have a 3/4 inch spindle. So that's just a thing to note. It doesn't pop out of the literature when you read these, but there are actually two different models. There's a 48202, and I believe there is also a 48232, and those are the two different spindle sizes. By buying the three G3 chucks, I ended up with 3 identical sets of hardware. I've got 3 sets of these 50mm jaws. I don't really need those, so I'll probably throw at least 1 set, maybe 2, up on eBay. Maybe I'll throw on one of these screw drives as well. But I'll probably keep all of the fasteners, these little hex head screws. They're not the standard stuff that you would see at the big box hardware store, so I'll probably hold on to some of those as spares. Well, thanks for watching, and I hope you got something useful out of this video. Be sure and push the like button and leave me a comment, and if you're not a subscriber, I sure hope you'll consider becoming a subscriber. I have over 75 other videos, many of which are wood turning and woodworking videos. And in the meantime, if you're ever in the neighborhood, look me up. I'll be glad to give you the nickel tour here at Stuart Arts.